In the vast tapestry of Greek mythology, Hades stands as one of the most enigmatic and often misunderstood figures, a god whose realm lies beyond the mortal world and whose name evokes both reverence and fear. Born to the Titans Cronus and Rhea, Hades was one of 6 siblings who would ultimately shape the destiny of gods and men alike, his brothers Zeus and Poseidon, and his sisters Hera, Demeter, and Hestia. From the moment of his birth, Hades was destined for a role unlike any of his kin, for when the great war between the Olympian gods and the Titans, known as the Titanomachy, came to an end, the cosmos itself had to be divided among the victors. In the drawing of lots to determine each god's domain, Zeus claimed the skies, Poseidon took the seas, and Hades was granted dominion over the underworld, a vast and shadowy realm where the souls of the dead would dwell. This division of power was not seen as a punishment or lesser role but rather as a crucial responsibility in maintaining cosmic balance, for without the underworld there could be no natural order to life and death. Unlike the popular image of a malevolent ruler, Hades was not a god of evil or destruction, he was the stern yet just keeper of the dead, ensuring that all souls received their due fate according to the laws of the cosmos. His realm was known by many names: Hades, like the god himself, or more poetically, the House of Hades, the realm beneath the earth. It was believed to be separated from the world of the living by great rivers such as the Styx, Acheron, Cocytus, Phlegethon, and Lethe, each bearing its own symbolic and mystical significance. The underworld was guarded by Cerberus, the 3-headed hound whose terrifying presence ensured that no soul could escape and no living being could enter without permission. The throne of Hades was situated deep within this realm, a seat from which he ruled not with cruelty but with unwavering fairness, upholding oaths sworn by the river Styx and ensuring that the natural order of life and death remained unbroken. Hades' role in mythology often contrasted with that of his brothers. While Zeus wielded the thunderbolt and Poseidon commanded the storms and tides, Hades' power was subtler, rooted in inevitability, permanence, and the unseen forces that govern existence. Mortals rarely prayed to Hades, for calling upon him was to invite a reminder of one's mortality, yet he was honored in rituals and oaths, for to invoke his name falsely was a grave offense. His very character embodied the ancient Greek understanding of life's dual nature, the celebration of vitality and the acceptance of its eventual end. In his domain, kings and beggars alike were equal, wealth and status in life mattered little in the face of eternity. This equality was reflected in one of his epithets, Plouton, meaning the giver of wealth, for the riches of the earth, precious metals, fertile soil, came from beneath the ground, from his realm. In this way, Hades was not only the god of the dead but also a source of abundance, a reminder that life and death are intertwined in a perpetual cycle. His personality, as portrayed in myth, was reserved, solemn, and unyielding, yet capable of deep commitment, as would be seen in the story of his union with Persephone. While Hades was feared, he was also respected, for the Greeks understood that without his steadfast guardianship, the balance of the world would collapse into chaos. His image in art and literature was often that of a mature man, bearded and regal, holding the bident, a 2-pronged staff symbolizing his authority, sometimes accompanied by Cerberus or the Helm of Darkness, a magical cap that rendered the wearer invisible, a gift from the Cyclopes during the Titanomachy. This helm not only served as a weapon in war but as a symbol of his dominion over the unseen and the inevitable. Thus, the story of Hades begins not as a tale of villainy but as a portrait of a god who embodies one of the most profound truths of existence, that life is fleeting, and death, far from being a punishment, is an essential part of the order that sustains the universe. From the depths of his shadowy kingdom, Hades watched over the countless souls who crossed the threshold, ensuring that each found their place in the eternal cycle, a role both solemn and sacred in the mythology of ancient Greece. Among the most enduring and captivating tales in which Hades plays a central role is the myth of Persephone, a story that not only reveals aspects of his character but also weaves together themes of love, loss, and the changing of the seasons. Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and fertility, was a maiden of radiant beauty, wandering the meadows of the mortal world when Hades beheld her. Struck by a profound and sudden desire, Hades emerged from the depths of the earth in his golden chariot drawn by shadowy steeds, seizing Persephone and carrying her to the underworld to be his queen. This act, while often described as an abduction, was in the context of ancient myth a dramatic union that would set in motion a cycle affecting all life on Earth. Demeter, stricken with grief at the loss of her daughter, wandered the earth in sorrow, neglecting her duties, and as her grief deepened, the fertile lands withered, crops failed, and famine spread across the world. The plight of mortals reached the ears of Zeus, who, understanding that life could not continue without Demeter's blessings, sent Hermes, the swift messenger god, to the underworld to negotiate Persephone's return. Hades, knowing that he could not fully keep Persephone from the world above, offered a compromise, yet before she departed, he gave her pomegranate seeds to eat. Bound by the ancient laws that whoever consumed food in the realm of the dead must return, Persephone had tied herself to Hades' world. It was thus decreed that she would spend part of the year with her mother, bringing spring and summer to the earth, and part of the year in the underworld with Hades, during which autumn and winter would reign. This myth was not merely a romantic or tragic tale but a profound allegory for the agricultural cycle, death and rebirth, and the inevitability of change. Another notable legend involving Hades is that of Orpheus and Eurydice, a story of love tested by the boundaries between life and death. Orpheus, the greatest musician in Greek myth, fell deeply in love with the beautiful Eurydice, but their joy was cut short when she was bitten by a serpent and died. Overcome with grief, Orpheus descended into the underworld, his music so moving that it softened the heart of Hades himself. The god, rarely swayed by mortal pleas, was moved by Orpheus' devotion and granted him permission to take Eurydice back to the living world on one condition: he must not look back at her until they had both fully emerged into the sunlight. Tragically, overcome by doubt and longing, Orpheus glanced back too soon, and Eurydice vanished forever into the shadows. This tale underscored the unyielding laws of Hades' domain, where promises and conditions were absolute, and even love could not override fate. The labors of Heracles also brought him into contact with Hades. In his 12th and final labor, Heracles was tasked with capturing Cerberus and bringing the beast to the surface without the use of weapons. Hades, though stern, permitted the hero to attempt the feat, on the condition that Cerberus not be harmed. Heracles wrestled the monstrous hound into submission and carried him to King Eurystheus before returning the creature safely to the underworld, an act that demonstrated both Hades' respect for strength and his adherence to his own rules. Another intriguing story is that of Theseus and Pirithous, two heroes whose boldness bordered on arrogance. Seeking wives worthy of their stature, they set their sights on daughters of Zeus. Theseus chose Helen, while Pirithous sought none other than Persephone herself. They ventured into the underworld to seize her, but their scheme ended in ruin, for Hades, aware of their intentions, tricked them into sitting on the chair of forgetfulness, which bound them immovably. Theseus was later rescued by Heracles during his descent, but Pirithous remained trapped forever, a warning of the folly of overstepping mortal bounds in the realm of the dead. In all these tales, Hades is depicted not as a capricious tyrant but as a figure of law and inevitability. He is unyielding in his decrees, but he is also capable of fairness, honoring agreements, and granting rare exceptions when moved by extraordinary circumstances. These stories reflect the Greek understanding of the underworld as a place governed by unbreakable order, where even the gods respected the boundaries that separated life from death. Through his interactions with mortals and heroes, Hades' image emerges as one of solemn authority, a ruler who does not seek to harm the living but ensures that the dead remain where they belong, preserving the balance that underpins the world. Each myth serves as a mirror to the human condition, illustrating the tension between love and loss, ambition and humility, life and the inevitability of death, and in each, Hades remains the silent yet essential guardian of the final frontier. The figure of Hades in Greek mythology carries a depth of symbolism that extends far beyond the mere role of ruler of the dead, encompassing themes of inevitability, transformation, and the interconnectedness of all things. In the ancient Greek worldview, death was not an end to be feared above all else, but a necessary counterpart to life, and Hades embodied that truth with an unwavering steadiness. His realm beneath the earth symbolized not only the final resting place of mortal souls but also the hidden sources of life's renewal, for from the darkness of the soil sprang the grain that fed the living and the minerals that built their cities. This duality is reflected in the dual nature of his names. Hades as the unseen one, Lord of shadows and silence, and Plouton as the giver of wealth, a title that underscores the belief that prosperity itself has roots in the depths. The Greeks did not depict Hades as a devil figure, for their cosmology had no eternal battlefield between good and evil in the modern sense. Rather, the underworld was part of the divine order, and Hades' role was to maintain that order without bias or malice. He was the keeper of oaths sworn by the Styx, the ultimate enforcer of the promises and contracts that held the fabric of society together, for in a culture where words bound one's honor, the penalty for breaking such bonds was believed to reach beyond death itself. In religious practices, Hades received few temples compared to other Olympian gods, but he was honored in chthonic rites, rituals connected to the earth and the spirits beneath it, offerings of black animals, libations poured into the ground, and prayers spoken in whispers were acts of reverence meant to show respect rather than court favor, for to seek Hades' blessing openly was rare. His consort Persephone played a vital role in the seasonal festivals, especially the Eleusinian mysteries, which promised initiates a hope of life beyond death, suggesting that the realm of Hades was not a place of eternal torment but part of a greater cycle of existence. The cultural impact of Hades extended into art, where vase paintings and sculptures portrayed him as regal and composed, often seated beside Persephone, holding his bident or accompanied by Cerberus. Unlike the dramatic and tempestuous depictions of Zeus or Poseidon, Hades' iconography exuded stability and authority, his presence a reminder of the unchanging laws that governed life and death. In literature, his character became a canvas for exploring humanity's relationship with mortality. From Homer's Odyssey, where Odysseus ventures into the underworld to seek prophecy, to the tragedies of Euripides and Sophocles, where the inevitability of death shapes the destinies of heroes. Even in later Roman culture, where he was identified with Pluto, his image retained the balance between wealth and the afterlife, influencing centuries of art, philosophy, and eventually the medieval and modern imaginings of the afterlife. In modern portrayals, particularly in literature, theater, and film, Hades has often been recast, sometimes as a villain, sometimes as a misunderstood figure, reflecting changing cultural attitudes toward death. Yet at the heart of every portrayal remains the essence of his myth, the ruler who does not cause death but receives it. The guardian of boundaries, the silent witness to the stories of every life that has ever been lived, his legacy invites reflection on the human condition, challenging us to see death not merely as an end, but as part of an eternal rhythm. Through the myths that surround him, the abduction and compromise of Persephone, the trials of heroes who dared to enter his realm, the oaths sealed by the Styx, Hades emerges as a figure who stands at the intersection of fear and necessity, a god whose authority is absolute yet whose justice is impartial. In this way, he remains one of the most enduring and profound symbols in all of Greek mythology, a reminder that to live fully is also to accept the inevitability of passing into his realm, and that from the depths, life itself continually rises again. The stories of Hades continue to be told because they speak to something timeless in the human heart, the awareness that love, ambition, courage, and even the might of gods are all framed within the greater cycle of existence, a cycle over which Hades watches with eternal vigilance, ensuring that the boundaries between life and death remain unbroken, and that the balance of the cosmos endures for all ages to come.